a still midnight, a single call, 4 children wounded, 2 dead before sunrise. At 4:48 a.m. on October 4th, 2025, a mother made a call to 911 from a gas station in Angleton, Texas. Authorities arrived to find a vehicle with 4 children inside, gravely wounded. By the time medical help reached them, 13-year-old O'Karreo Covingtonand and 3-year-old Amourra Chappell were dead. The remaining 2 children, ages 8 and 9, survived, though badly injured. The person taken into custody at the scene, their mother, 31-year-old Oninda Romelus. Before we go deeper, please consider subscribing and turning on notifications. That way you won't miss future episodes that examine real cases, real victims, and real justice. In the next few minutes, we will walk through the life leading to that call, the silence broken by gunshots, the investigation that followed, and the haunting questions left unanswered. This is the story of Oninda Romelus, mother and suspect, and the 4 children she is accused of shooting. Oninda Romelus was 31 and residing in Porter, Montgomery County, Texas, north of Houston. She has had some media attention in the past. About a decade ago, she appeared on paternity court to resolve questions of paternity for her son O'Karreo. Neighbors and community members described her as reserved, often keeping to herself. Her father, Wilson Romelus, said she had moved from Georgia only months earlier and that their contact had been sporadic. Court documents later revealed a troubling discovery in her home: dozens of identification documents under varied names, multiple social security cards, printers, electronics, and materials suggestive of identity fraud operations. Investigators would later allege these items point to ongoing illicit activity separate from the case of her children. During preliminary hearing statements, Romelus reportedly made statements to investigators that her children were with the devil and claimed she called the devil rather than 911. In one documented exchange, she said, "Instead of them doing it to me, I'm going to do it to them." This is the background: a woman with a fragmented public life, signs of document fraud at home, and a mind that investigators would later conclude was not straightforward to read. The calm before the storm. In the pre-dawn hours, Oninda Romelus made a call to 911 from a gas station in Angleton, requesting assistance. Deputies arrived to find her car parked at a pump along Highway 288, doors open, engine running. Inside, they discovered the 4 children, each having suffered gunshot wounds. The deceased, 13-year-old O'Karreo Covingtonand and 3-year-old Amourra Chappell. The 2 survivors, one aged 8, the other 9, were found critically injured and promptly flown to a Houston area hospital. Authorities later reported their conditions stabilized. A weapon was recovered near or within the scene. Romelus was detained by deputies. At some point, she was moved to the sheriff's office in Brazoria County for questioning. Court documents state that during preliminary questioning, Romelus first said she couldn't explain why she called authorities. She then allegedly said, "Instead of them doing it to me, I'm going to do it to them." When asked, "Do what?" she replied, "Kill them all." When asked why she called 911, she reportedly said she didn't call 911 but called the devil. She also reportedly said the children were dead to her and with the devil. Investigators have noted uncertainty about exactly where the shooting took place: inside the car at the gas station or earlier en route. Though they assert evidence suggests it occurred within the vehicle. By morning, that single call had revealed a horrifying act: 4 wounded, 2 gone, a mother in custody. The silence was broken, and the questions multiplied. Once the scene was secured, Brazoria County detectives and agents from Montgomery County and supporting agencies moved rapidly to collect evidence. They collected surveillance footage from the gas station, pump receipts, vehicle location logs, and digital records, all to reconstruct the final moments before the call. In the early search of Romelus's Porter residence, investigators discovered a trove of identification materials: more than 30 social security cards, numerous ID cards under various names, printers, electronics, and documents that suggest active fraud operations. Investigators believe these discoveries may form part of a broader investigation. Court records show that during her arrest, she initially resisted communication, wasn't making sense, per the detective's notes. In subsequent interviews at the sheriff's office, her statements grew more erratic. She is documented as glancing repeatedly at doorways, hesitating, and offering fragmented responses. Investigators asked her to recount the events or explain the motive. At one point, Romelus said she can't talk about it. Later, she claimed the children were with the devil, as though she believed they were possessed or aligned with evil forces. She also said, "'Cause you can't take me without me taking you," an alarming phrase implying she felt threatened. Forensic teams conducted ballistic tests, gun residue analyses, and DNA swabs of the car interior. They matched bullet trajectories and angles to reconstruct the positions of the children when shot. In parallel, detectives reached out to people who knew Romelus from Georgia, where she had lived previously. They discovered a 2022 arrest in Fayette County, Georgia, for misdemeanor DUI, possession of marijuana under 1 ounce, and failure to maintain lane. Those records, although closed, provide a small window into her past behavior. All the while, the surviving children remained hospitalized, and investigators sought to interview them once stable to better understand sequence and motive. The pieces of the case were forming a mosaic: motive, method, and mental state, each requiring scrutiny. The turning point of the investigation came not from forensic labs alone, but from Romelus's own recorded statements and the evidence that tied them to physical facts. Court documents show she repeatedly asserted dangerous, delusional ideas. She said her children would do it to her, that they were with the devil, and she attempted to frame their presence as an existential threat. The documents also reveal a chilling progression. At first, she said she called 911. Moments later, she claimed she didn't and said she called the devil instead. At other points, she said she was ready to work, an odd phrase in context. When pressed about her children's whereabouts, she answered that they were dead to her. The conflicting statements created a puzzle. Was this a case of psychosis, a calculated act, or both? Each shift in her story drew attention from forensic psychologists. Their later assessments would consider whether she was competent to stand trial, whether delusions influenced her decisions, and how her mental state might mitigate responsibility. On the material evidence side, surveillance video and pump receipts confirmed that she arrived at the gas station and began fueling before deputies were called. That places her, the car, and the children at the location moments before the call. The vehicle itself was the scene. Bullet casings, trajectories, and gun residue inside the car all support the shooting occurring in transit or immediately before arrival. In public statements, Brazoria County Sheriff Bo Stallman described the case as a senseless tragedy and vowed to pursue justice for the children. Meanwhile, no motive has been confirmed publicly, though the fraud evidence, her statements, and her prior history are central to prosecutorial theory. This is where the narrative stands: a mother's words tangled in shifting declarations, physical evidence pointing to the vehicle as the crime site, and no fully accepted motive. The next phase is the legal reckoning. Oninda Romelus was formally charged with 2 counts of murder for O'Karreo and Amourra and 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon for the surviving children. Her bond was set at $14 million. The 2 surviving children, after multiple surgeries, stabilized in hospital care. Authorities say they are cooperating with investigators. Child Protective Services moved in to oversee their care until legal custody decisions can be made. In public remarks, Brazoria County officials confirmed the investigation remains ongoing and that motive has not been publicly disclosed. Romelus's legal team is expected to raise mental health evaluations as a key part of defense strategy, though no plea or official statements have been released at this time. The forensic, psychological, and testimonial evidence will all converge in court. Meanwhile, the community is shaken. Vigils have been held in memory of O'Karreo and Amourra. Many raise questions. How did this happen? What could have prevented it? And what answers remain hidden? For now, 2 lives have been lost, 2 others wounded. A mother awaits trial, and a community waits for truth. This case forces a confrontation with complexity. A mother, legally responsible for her children's care, facing charges of killing 2 and wounding 2 more. The path to understanding is fraught with ambiguity: mental health, identity operations, courtroom tactics, and the human cost. We know the children's names: O'Karreo Covingtonand, 13, and Amourra Chappell, 3, lost forever. Two others, an 8-year-old boy and 9-year-old girl, survive with wounds, both physical and emotional. The bond between parent and child is one of the most sacred relationships, yet here it is the site of horror and betrayal. Many questions remain unanswered. What was the breaking point? Was she fully capable of distinguishing right from wrong at the moment? How heavily will fraud evidence weigh in her defense or prosecution? What of the surviving children's testimony once coherent? If you followed along this far, please subscribe, hit the like button, and share this video so this story isn't lost in the noise. Your support helps us continue bringing these stories lightfully and responsibly. Let us remember O'Karreo and Amourra not just as victims, but as lives that once held dreams, love, laughter. May their spirits find peace, may their siblings heal, and may the courts uncover the full truth of what transpired on that October morning. This has been a detailed look at the Oninda Romelus case. Tragic, perplexing, unresolved. Stay with us for updates as the trial unfolds.